Ah, we're coming now, I think.
Yep, there we go.
We are live. Welcome, welcome, welcome everyone to our Facebook Live Dance Versations with Gail. I am Gail, and tonight we have some awesome guests. Before I get into who our awesome guests are, please, if you are watching, do a watch party or like and share because we want everybody to have an opportunity to see this and be a part of this dance versation tonight. So please, please, please share and like this page, this dance versation. So tonight we have with us Alfred Goldman, and like I can't even say his pedigree, his bio, because it's really, really, really long and full of stuff. So I'm gonna let him introduce himself in a minute. And we also have Josh Bowden. Did I say Bowden right? Yes, Josh Bodden from Kansas City Ballet. And he's going to tell us his bio as well. As a matter of fact, let me start off with Josh. They're going to introduce themselves and then come back to me for a second. Josh, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, my name is Josh Bowden. I'm originally from Miami, Florida. I started ballet at the age of 10. My elementary school took a field trip to see a student matinee of Miami City Ballet's The Nutcracker. I thought it was the most amazing thing I've ever saw at that time. And at the end of the performance, they handed out literature and brochures for the upcoming season for the company, as well as information about the school. So I took all that stuff home, and then I got home from school and I called them myself and said, "Hi, my name is, I saw your show this morning. I want to do ballet." They said, "That's great. Can we speak to a parent?" I said, "My mom is at work. You can talk to me." They said, "We need to speak to a parent." So eventually I had my mom call in. We went to the school. They showed me around, and then I started taking class. Apparently I had some talent at it, and I had the right people pushing me in the right direction. So I started getting more serious about it, and I started attending summer programs like School of American Ballet, Pacific Northwest Ballet, North Carolina School of the Arts during the summers. And then eventually, once I graduated from high school, I was invited to join Miami City Ballet. And then from Miami City Ballet, I went to the Dance Theater of Harlem's Ensemble. And then that was right when they took a hiatus. So I had a lull, like a couple gap years in between where I was a guest artist before I joined the Cincinnati Ballet. And now I am with the Kansas City Ballet.
I know better. Very good. Thank you for sharing that, Josh, and we'll get back to you in a little bit. Alfred, would you please share your history?
Well, my name is Alfred Goldman, and I am the founder and artistic director of Gallman's Newark Dance Theater. I started dancing with a man called Pepsi Bethel. He saw me in a citywide talent contest, and I had a group of 5 men, young boys, because we were 13, 14, 15. Who we choreographed our own dances and performed around the city. And we won a citywide contest. And he came up to me and he said, "If you ever wanted to learn how to dance, I would train you." So the group broke up and I called him, and then he started my training. He told me I should audition for Alvin Ailey School, and I did. I got a full merit scholarship for 4 years, and I started my formal training there. I was Pepsi Bethel's assistant, and on my 18th birthday, he walked out of the class and said that you're 18, you need to make a living at dancing. So that started my teaching at the Garden State Ballet. not only did he give me a living, a way to make a living, but my company grew out of there because at the time, they had been through the riots and the school was white when I came, and then it transferred to being Black. So they sent me to all of the schools, which was in Rutherford, Morristown, South Orange, Red Bank, and Newark. And I noticed that Newark had the only Black kids, and they were really good. So I realized that none of them fed into the Garden State Ballet, which was a professional salary company. And I said, something is wrong with this picture. So I put my career on hiatus, and I wanted to show them that they could be whatever they wanted to be. And then that's where my company grew out of. And yes, we were the first modern dance company in Newark to be on salary for 3 years. So that was like going from being a street dancer to a professional dancer, and then having my own company in school at 23, and then being on salary. Yes.
Wow. You know, I have to tell you the truth. I have learned a lot this past week about you, reading your bio and you know, I try to do a little research. And I just want to tell you thank you. And I'm so proud of you that you have just blazed a wonderful trail. I remember dancing with you and training with you as well. You were tough taskmaster, sir.
Beautiful dancer, Gail.
Um,
In ballet, which was her thing, it was just wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So I want to say something. The last couple of days, I have been kind of listening. Well, I've been listening and reading, etc. And there's been a couple of shows. I was talking to them before we came online. That there's been a show that has been canceled because they found out she was treating her dancers of color with some microaggressions. Knowing who that person is, it was probably more macroaggressions. But yeah. I, I am really appalled, I guess is the word I want to use, at some of the things that she said. And even though they don't sound so, but it feeds right into this systemic racism, this institutional racism that permeates today. She said things like sprinkle of color. And that just harkens back to, we've all heard fly in the milk, or a little chocolate in the cream, or a little chocolate in the milk. And these types of things, they bother me even more now as we are talking about racism in dance, because it feeds into the whole ideology, especially when you're talking about classical ballet, although it permeates throughout. When you're talking about classical ballet, and why do I have to be the fly in the milk? Why do I have to be the chocolate in the cream? Why isn't the cream chocolate? Why? I mean, it needs to be cafe au lait or something. It doesn't just need to be white milk. And looking and reading to solutions, because that's one of the things that why we're having these conversations is not just about. I had somebody ask me, how do I get more Black dancers in my school? It's not just about getting more Black dancers in your school, because that equates into money. And I'm not mad at, we all got to make money, but what are you doing to facilitate African Americans, Black people in your schools? And do they, like Alfred said, feed into the company? Are we training them to be absorbed into the mainstream? We were talking, Jessica and I and Crystal were talking about, Crystal's not here tonight, guys. She's celebrating her birthday. Happy birthday, Crystal. We were talking about companies and schools being black or white. What makes a company or a school black or white? Why do we have to put a label on, that is a color-coded label on a school or a company? I do understand that schools like Dance Theater of Harlem, like my school, when I opened here in Columbia, South Carolina, I did it so that African Americans could have more opportunity to get training, to get solid, good foundational training. And I had everything. My company of youth, they had to take ballet, tap, jazz, African, modern, you name it, hip hop, they took it all. I didn't put one form over the other. And I'm a classical trained dancer. And that's what my love is. But I do know that in order for them to succeed, that they needed to be well-rounded and they needed to represent all forms of dance equally and as technically proficient as they could. So when we're talking about this systemic racism, this institutional racism, I had to look up the word. I had to look up what it meant. And it means a form of racism that is embedded in a normal practice within a society or organization. It can lead to such discrimination in aspects of all life. It is subtle, but no less destructive. And I realized that in dance, it involves how a dancer is disqualified because of their skin color, their hair texture, their body type. And then it's justified. They try to justify it because this is how it was. This is tradition. This is, Marie's always white, or whatever the justification is. But these justifications, these microaggressions, these biases are Eurocentrically based. And I read one sister, I can't call her name right now. She said, by the colonizers. So I said, wow, that, Wakanda forever. It was just interesting that she used that terminology. But how do we, so maybe this is my first question, how do we address systemic racism and not just address it, but eradicate it? So before you answer that question, I know, Alfred, would you share with us some of the experiences that we have? And we'll put that question on the burner there for a minute, but please share some of the experiences that you've encountered in your journey.
Well, first of all, out of the 12 original dancers that started in my company, one of the young ladies, now her name is Lisa Addles, who was a soloist with Dance Theater of Harlem before she retired. She came to me and said, I want to be a ballerina. And I looked at her, and she's dark-skinned, gorgeous as all get up. And I said, this is going to be my challenge. And I dare not say anything to her to discourage her. But I said, if you want to be a ballerina, you will be a ballerina. So my whole emphasis was I put her on her first point piece. And I choreographed a piece on her called Mother's Prayer. And that piece got her into Dance Theater of Harlem as a soloist, because Mr. Mitchell saw her performing that piece and he loved it and he brought her in. But they were supposed to be dancing in a ballet company at the Garden State Ballet, but that did not happen. They were the best of the school, So they told me to take that group of Black kids and start a junior company. And when we did, we started the company and they performed with the Garden State Ballet, but they would get standing ovations and the Garden State Ballet didn't. So that told me that I needed to create an avenue for them. And I trained them to be the best. If they had to do 6 o'clock planche on both sides. They had to do 4 pirouettes. They had to do an arabesque that was above the hip. And then they had to dance from the soul. So that would separate them. And I think I did pretty good because Adrienne Armstrong, she went to the Ailey Company. William Vasquez went to Joffrey. Manny Rodriguez went to Paul Taylor. Andre Tyson went to the Ailey Company. So if you set your own standards and don't let anyone else set your standards for you, then you will create a way and then make a way. And because that's, and Lisa won the Presidential Scholar and she performed Mother's Prayer at the White House for the Reagan administration. Now, these are those Black kids that they didn't know what to do with, becoming pillars of society, doing the best that they can. And because I said no, they will be whatever they want to be. There's another story, but I'll let Josh talk.
Yeah, there are many that came out of Gallman's Newark Dance Theater that are teaching and dancing today, and you're still influencing dancers today. And we just thank you for that. And I know that you have encountered. Can you? I know you said Josh, but can you, Alfred, share with us something that you experienced personally as far as
Oh,
racism
yes.
is concerned?
Well, in 1997, I became the director of dance at Newark Community School of the Arts. And I don't know what their vision was, but I first of all changed the name from Community to Newark School of the Arts. And we had 25 people in the dance program when I got there. And when I left, I had 250 kids in the dance program. And then they made me the artistic director of the school. Now, in the height of all of this going on, I was told that I created a nutcracker called A Soulful Christmas. And at the end of the piece, I put the nativity scene because my nutcracker is called the Nutcracker Soulful Christmas. And the executive director came to me and said that he wanted to change the name of the piece and he wanted to change the ending because he was offended by the ending. And I said, how are you offended by little angels and little cows and little sheep? And I thought that was a little troubling. So from that point on, the company has had financially its best season ever. And he was like, I want you to come into my office for a meeting. And I wasn't feeling well, so I did not make the meeting. Well, he docked my pay. Yes. And then I went to the place where you labor disputes, and then I won a settlement for that. And then he wanted to take my salary and cut it in half after I took 25 to 500. And I said, well, we're doing the best that we've ever done. He says, you need to know your place. Yeah, and then when you have a job like that, I had pension, I had a salary, I had commission works, I brought national recognition to the institution, but because I was Black and he was not, he gave me a hard way to go. So I refused to take a cut and pay half a cut, and I done built the school up financially, artistically. It wasn't gonna happen. So that was, and in my looking back at that, I should have really, I won 2 settlements.
Mhm.
One for that and one from him starting a rumor that wasn't true.
Wow.
So I should be there now. I should be fat and settled financially, but because of the racist overtone. But if I would have known better, I would have sued for racism.
Wow. Yeah.
And I would have won that also.
Yeah. You know, I'm even still stuck on you saying he wanted to change the ending of the ballet, because it still bothers me that there's this perception of, I guess he wanted white Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a whole nother conversation. We're gonna stick on dance sensations tonight. But anyway, yeah, thank you for that. I don't even know what to say to that. I'm gonna go to Josh and ask Josh to share a little bit with us.
Amazing.
Oh, amazing.
I guess I'll have to say that my professional career has been mainly with ballet companies, which is a predominantly white space. I've always felt that I've had to, work harder, do better, show that I knew all the steps, all the counts, do all the work outside of the studio. I say that to say this: I am very grateful to be part of the Kansas City Ballet organization at this time, because they really have created a space and an opportunity for this conversation to be had for Black dancers in the company and for other dancers of color in the company, because we have quite a few. And through this time of the Black Lives Matters movement starting up again and really, taking steam and moving forward, many conversations were had about what it's like to be a person of color in a predominantly white space. I think my issues with racism really didn't start until I was really in my career and I was thriving in ballet companies, and I came across different repetitors or stagers that would come in and set ballets or set works on the company. I had one situation where a person came in and they had worked with the company in the past. And before I joined the company, there was another African-American male in the company that he worked with. And for some reason, this person just kept calling me that other person's name. And I would continue to correct him and say, oh, that's okay. My name is Josh. That's fine. This went on for weeks throughout the rehearsal process. And I was like, this guy really is not taking the time to see me as a person and learn my name. I am not this amazing dancer that danced in the company before. I am this dancer that's here now. And we went back and forth, and I was like, he would say, oh, that note is for, and I go, my name is Josh. I've told you this before. We've said this before. And, at the time, I didn't realize it was a form of microaggression. And, everyone in the room would laugh it off because it is uncomfortable, and especially when the same thing is being said for weeks over and over again. It really showed me that this person in particular didn't see me as a dancer or a person. He just saw me by my skin tone, and he just associated me with other Black dancers he worked with in the past. He didn't take the time to see who I was.
Yeah, you know all Black folks look alike.
Well, we really do not. It was a moment that I thought about a lot. And when you are a dancer in a company, you are afraid to express your feelings or your thoughts, and you just laugh things off and you move on. I feel that there is an unwritten rule for Black dancers in a company. When you have a job with a ballet company, if another person of color, or particularly a Black person, joins the company, that means the previous person, their time is up. It's time for them to go. And that's what it feels like at moments in my career. Whether it is a thing that is accurate, that's what it always feels like. I will have dancers say to me, oh, you're the new so-and-so, or that person's the new you. And I'm like, no, that person's that person and I'm me. And it's not, you can't just say, the same thoughts or ideals are not placed upon other white dancers in the company. Just because a white dancer joins the company, that doesn't mean another white dancer has to leave or be replaced. And that's what it's felt like throughout different moments in my career. And I've always taken the time to actually reach out to other dancers of color or other Black dancers of color when they join the company, because when you are a Black dancer, particularly joining a classical ballet company, it is very isolating. Not only are you competing with other dancers in the company, you're competing against your own skin tone and just to be seen to have a level playing field. So I've always said, I've always tried to reach out to other dancers in the company, have a common bond, because if they see that we can get along and we are not really being that combative in the studio and there's not a direct competition between the two Black dancers in the company, they can see you can have more than one and you can have more than two. Right now I work with Whitney Hewell, who's also a member of the Kansas City Ballet, and she's a beautiful African-American ballerina. And our first connection was we were both the new Black dancers in the company. So it was an unspoken bond that we had before we even spoke. And, as time went on, we have become really close and have had many conversations about what it's like to be a Black dancer in a predominant space. And this time we become really, I consider her my sister now, because we become so close through this crazy time of talking about being Black, which has just been so hard and extremely uncomfortable and so exposing to talk about something that everyone sees but nobody wants to talk about because it makes everyone uncomfortable. And it's also something as a Black person you suppress for so long, and you didn't know you felt the way you did until it just comes out. And in the beginning of these conversations with my artistic director of Kansas City Ballet reached out, the executive director reached out. We had many conversations about this. And in the beginning days of this, it was literally emotional assault on my part, because I couldn't gather my thoughts, I couldn't gather my feelings, and everything just came out in a flood of emotions because of what it feels like to be a Black person in America, as well as a Black person in a ballet company. And, over time, I've learned how to use my voice a little bit better, but those early stages, it was just me yelling and crying, talking about, this is crazy. It was hard.
So Josh, you said something that was really powerful. You were in the company, so obviously they saw your talent, but you weren't being seen. I'm not talking about Kansas City. I think they've done an amazing job in the last couple of years, really having employing dancers of color. But you were saying that you were unseen. How can you be in a company, get to that level, and be unseen?
It's truly crazy, and it really is a mental game, just being a professional ballet dancer in itself. But when you are a dancer of color, it is a whole nother headspace to be in, because I always say I'm not the most talented dancer, but I'm also not the worst dancer. I possess a particular skill set that I think is very valuable to be a professional dancer. And I feel like there's been many times where, I've had many opportunities throughout my career, and I've had sustained a thriving career, and I've done many feature roles and many things. But at times, I felt like, wow, I think I would have been really good at that role. But, depending on the rep or the ballet that is being performed or set, I wasn't even a consideration because what we were dancing. So, you know, it's just like, oh, I can't even be in the room or even be considered for a role because you don't see me dancing this type of ballet or this type of rep. And, you know, that's what I mean when I say like, you don't even see me. And, you know, there's been moments where I dance circles around people, and no matter how hard I dance or how hard I work outside the studio, this ballet's not for you. You're not doing this. And that's how it's felt. And that's not what their intentions were. And with that being said, you know, I'm not here to name names or call anyone out. This is just my own experience and how I felt in these moments of rehearsal while working on a day-to-day. And, you know, you have to come in with a smile on your face and get the work done, because no one cares about how you really feel or what you're really thinking. They want to get the work done. It is a paid job. You have to be professional at all times.
Right. It's interesting because as I know, as a male, I said this earlier, and Alfred, you can chime in too, as a male dancer, you guys actually don't have it as hard as the Black female dancers.
Not so.
I think that's just a matter of opinion. I think it is equally hard as a Black.
Equally hard. They will hire a Black male dancer before they hire a Black female.
I can't speak on that because I'm a Black male dancer, so I don't know. I don't know how to respond to that. I'm sorry.
Alfred?
When you're a Black choreographer and a director of a school and an institution, and you do your recital and you have 100-piece orchestra playing in your recital, and you brought national recognition to the institution to the point that you changed the name from a community organization to an artistic institution recognized by the National Endowment of the Arts.
Yeah.
You still treat it like you are a second-class citizen. And that has yet to be duplicated in the city of Newark.
And I want to say that Newark, Alfred, is what, 98% Black? 100 maybe? Hey, 95. So you absolutely were a reflection of the community.
Even though when I was the artistic director of Newark Community School of the Arts, Newark School of the Arts, the school itself was multiracial. We had every background from Russians to Italians to Portuguese. So that was not the issue because they were in the same stage as Eddie Shellman, Theodore Wolf.
Wow. Dance theater icons.
Yes, and I can just go on.
Yeah, yeah.
And they were brought in the best choreographers, Louis Johnson, Fred Benjamin, master classes. And then for me to have to leave that institution because I'm not treated like the king my mother taught me to be.
Yes, yes. You know, I was laughing at it, but I know here that they definitely accept a male Black dancer before they accept a female Black dancer. And I'm learning or recognizing more that there's a difference between the South and the North, but it's a fine line because racism is racism, whether it's implicit bias that you experienced, Josh, you know, unspoken, you wanted to say unspoken line that you weren't, that part was not for you. I remember doing the Nutcracker at Essex County in Newark, and Gallman, Alfred is in New Jersey. No, you're in New York now, right, Alfred? You're in New York. Yeah. Josh is in Kansas City, Missouri, right? I remember doing doing excerpts from the Nutcracker at Essex County in New Jersey, Alfred, and when I had the prince to take off his hood and they saw this tall, handsome Black man, the audience just went, because
Yeah,
I had never seen a Black Nutcracker prince.
yeah,
And I had people to literally come and say to me, "Oh my God, he was so handsome." And you could hear the whispering in the audience while we were still trying to dance, because they were just astounded to see his technical ability
yeah,
and how handsome he was, and he was a Black man. And it almost made me cry, because why did it take that? Why did it have to have that? It should be, I want to say common, but natural. Should be natural to see a Black man or a Black woman dancing classical ballet, um, and not this wow factor. Even though I was thankful for the wow factor, but because he was really handsome and a really great dancer. But again, that wow factor was there partly because he was a Black man, and they just were not expecting to see him.
I think the ballet dancers of color have shown that we can be versatile and we can dance anything you throw at us, because we're doing it, we're making it happen. We have the Misty Copelands, we've had the Aisha Ashes, the Andrea Longs, and Deborah Austins. I mean, the list goes on of beautiful dancers of color, Black ballerinas who were able to dance anything you gave them, despite what you thought their restrictions were.
Yeah.
Technically capable, artistically capable. And there's been so many that people only get caught up on the now, but if you go through the history of Black dancers and ballet companies, the list is long.
It is.
And they were all extremely talented and extremely beautiful. When I saw the student matinee of Miami City Ballet's The Nutcracker, there were 3 African-American ballerinas in the company at the time. This is the 90s, and they were all beautiful. They all danced at Miami City Ballet. One left and went on to Boston Ballet. One left and went to Europe before joining Miami City Ballet. She danced in New York City Ballet. One ended her career in Miami and now teaches in the school. Like, the list is long of classical ballerinas and dancers who are capable and who have been doing it, but have not been recognized for doing what they've accomplished.
Right.
So, when the audience gasps and say, "Oh my God, he's Black," it's because they don't know any better.
Or they haven't seen it enough to not be astounded that here's this Black king dancing and more than proficient, dancing in excellence.
Excellence, yes.
Dancing in excellence, and they've not been exposed to it. Alfred, you were going to say something.
yes. I wanted to give a shout out to Fred and Evelyn Daniele, who were the founders of School of the Garden State Ballet and the artistic directors of Garden State Ballet, because my first Nutcracker seeing a Black Nutcracker prince was Paul Russell.
Oh, wow.
And the Keith Lee, and they all worked at the Garden State Ballet. Now, that Daniele's really eventually integrated the company and the school. So I wanted to give that shout out to them.
Yes,
April Beck with them. The list goes on and on. And QB Burke was one of my Nutcracker prince. He was extraordinary dancer, phenomenal. Carl Jonasson guest started with me many times from ABT. So there are kings that are among us.
Yes. Yes, I taught at Garden State for a while too, while the Danieles were still there. And I do give them kudos for that as well. I question though, and this is just me, and again, this is a dance sensation, so let's talk about it. I question though, they were right downtown Newark, which I thought was great because it was accessible. And that's what we need. They had scholarships, which was great. It was accessible, it was affordable. My question is, was it just a Black school, and why?
No, because they had 5 different locations and all of them was white except Newark. And the
And why was
trouble I
Newark
had
Black?
with them
Why was Newark
was,
a Black school?
yes, and it turned Black after a while. With Kind Franks being there, myself, and Gregory Hinton, and it got Black quick. But they really nurtured me as a teacher and a choreographer.
Mhm.
And I had not been a choreographer until they gave me 12 kids in a studio and said, that's your workshop. Let me see what you can do choreographically. So I give my props to them for being a vessel, an instrument that they really integrated ballet in their company.
So it became Black when you and Kind took over leadership there. And
Yes.
that's what bothers me. Like, my studio was a Black studio. Why does it have to be Black? Color, a plie is a plie. It doesn't have any color. 6 o'clock penche is 6 o'clock penche. It doesn't have any color.
No, it doesn't.
But because my face is brown, now my school is a school of color.
But and then it's like the darker dancers have more of a problem also, especially the dark female. So let's not even get into that part.
Speak on that, Josh.
I remember I was given a tribute by Dwayne Cyrus, who's my artistic son, in North Carolina, and he had Brooklyn Mac to dance for my tribute, and that's when I met him, which just a phenomenal force in dance. And I'm sure he had obstacles because of his color, but he persevered, and he is just an awesome dancer,
Yes.
and father.
Yeah.
Just a wonderful person to look up to by anyone.
He is. Speak on that, Josh. Josh, you are a little bit darker.
I am a dark Black man, and I'm proud of it. My skin tone is everything that everybody wishes theirs could be. I say that I think, I think I said before, not only do I have to compete with other dancers in the company, I'm also competing against my own skin tone. And I say that because, there's extreme colorism in the world. And, it goes back to, I'm not trying to get deep, but it goes back to slavery days and like the brown paper bag test. So it goes way back, and all of those stereotypes have penetrated the classical ballet bubble because, like I said before, it has been such a predominantly white space. I think, this is gonna sound terrible, but I get a lot of, wow, your skin is so beautiful in the light. And I'm like, thank you. But it's like, it's a compliment, but at the same time, like, okay, you don't really have to keep saying that. Like, I get it. It's because I am a darker complected person, and, I absorb all the lights, and, I glow, I guess. And it's harder. It is harder for the darker skin tones. It's hard for all people of color, but the darker your skin is, the less you are seen to even be like the Sugar Plum Fairy, the Cavalier, any of those leading iconic roles, Odette Odile, Lauren Anderson was dark skinned from Houston Ballet, and she was beautiful, and she proved them wrong that you can be dark skinned and still be amazingly fierce.
Yeah,
So,
she was fierce.
and all the ballerinas at Dance Theater of Harlem, all their different shades prove that the color of my skin does not equal the quality or of my talent. So
That's true. That's
Exactly.
true. What are some of the other things that you've heard people have said, other than, you know, oh, your skin is beautiful under the lights?
I mean, like silly things like, oh, it's a blackout, you're not gonna see Josh. You know,
Oh,
silly things like that are like, you know, they're kind of funny, but after a while, I was like, okay, I've heard this for like 20 years. It's not funny anymore. Like,
that is not funny. That is so
a
mean.
blackout's a blackout. You can't really see anybody unless and like we can't see you unless you smile. And it's a joke, but like, you know, sometimes
Oh
I'm,
my gosh.
you know,
That's called microaggressions.
those are microaggressions, and you laugh them and you swallow them. But sometimes I'm like, haha, that's not funny. Or, you know,
Right.
sometimes I'm not in the mood to be joking like that when, like, you know, you're in the midst of like a ballet season is exhausting. It's mentally exhausting. You're in your feelings constantly. And, you know, sometimes when people who are not your close friends or in your direct circle of support and they make jokes like that, sometimes it's not the time and you just don't want to hear it because it is a microaggression. And, you know, whether you realize it or not, it is a form of racism.
It is a form. It is a part of racism. And you know, sometimes, like I was calling this sprinkle of color fly in the milk, I'll have to add that to the list here. That people need to know is not okay to say. You cannot say that. You know, like the woman who was measuring me for a costume and she put it around my hips and she whispered and I was probably big as a minute at that time. But she whispered the number. I'm like, I am not that big. I was muscular. Of course, my body type is different.
Yes.
But oh my gosh, those type of things are, if you are watching, those type of things are microaggressions. They are racist. I'm gonna make a list because those things should not be said.
I mean, you know, they can be funny in the moment, but, you know, the inception of the statement is rooted in racism. So you
Right.
realize why it's so funny now, but the where it started, it was not funny. So we've gotten to a point where we laugh everything off. And sometimes you need to realize what you're saying. And, you know, people just repeat things and repost things, reshare things, not knowing the inception of the story or where it comes from. So.
And I want to say that it's not okay to say, it's not okay for us to laugh at it any longer, because then that gives the impression that it's okay and that, oh, he laughed or she laughed. So I'll say that the next time too.
I
What?
always say I am not the barometer of social cues. Just because I laugh at something doesn't mean it's okay. Like
Right.
I don't give you, just because I laugh doesn't give you the right to laugh, you know? Does that make sense?
Right. What are some other things, Alfred? What have you heard over the years? What have you heard? Like
Well, it's
microaggressions.
so much what I've heard as what I've experienced. And even in ballet companies that are Black majority, there was a hard time for a dark girl to do Swan Lake, the White Swan. And I saw that working with dancers from DTH. And that was curious to me, but it's changed. Yeah.
Oh my. So we have these, even in the culture, even in African Americans, and we talked about colorism a couple of dance conversations ago. Even within the community, we have these microaggressions about color. And you're dark and I'm light skinned, so I'm better than you, wherever. But that, again, like Josh was saying, is rooted in slavery, rooted in that whole ideology of the Eurocentric idea of what classical ballet should look like, or where it came from, and what bodies it belongs on. We cannot. How do we address that without laughing? How do we address it without offending, but getting our point across and trying to eliminate that, because it's not okay to say, Josh, where did Josh go? The lights went out. It's just, that's not okay to say that.
You need to speak
I'm
that.
still laughing at it. Yeah. It's like, because, I think laughter is also a form of being uncomfortable. So, sometimes you laugh because you are uncomfortable. And when
True.
someone says something that makes you uncomfortable or it feels slightly racist, a natural trigger is to laugh,
True.
to pacify the situation. Now, I'm not saying that's right, but I
Because if
think,
you don't laugh, then you get angry, and then you become the angry black man.
and and then you don't want to be that person either. And I feel like, there comes a point, I've said, I haven't said, but my childhood, I didn't experience very much racism in my training or growing up. I grew up in Miami. It was a melting pot of all cultures. I really didn't experience blatant racism in the dance community until I became an adult. Or
Wow.
started my professional career. And I think it also goes back to, the way Black men are viewed. When we're little boys, we're cute, we're adorable, we're just so adorable. And then when we become Black men, we're angry, we're aggressive, we're thugs. And there's somewhere between being a little boy and turning into a man, that narrative changes. When did I go from cute to angry?
Yeah.
I'm more mature, and there's a difference.
Yeah.
And just speaking up for yourself and speaking your mind often is confused with, oh, he's angry or he has an attitude. I'm like, I'm not angry, I don't have an attitude, I'm just speaking on the situation.
Yeah.
But that's how you view it, so therefore I can't win this conversation. So the best thing to do sometimes is not say anything.
I saw a sign one time, not too long ago, with the whole George Floyd protest, that said, a little boy had a sign that said, "When did I go from cute to killer?" I'm like,
Wow.
right.
Black men are viewed completely different once we are men than when we're viewed as little boys. It is a completely different narrative. And I don't know, I mean, I do know where it comes from. It's also rooted in slavery and that time. But why is it okay? I mean, I've watched other dancers storm out the room, yell back, hit the wall, go at it with other dancers, and nothing happens. The minute I say, I think, oh, he has an attitude, he has a problem. I'm not talking about my current situation. This is just a general thing that I've experienced or noticed. It's just like, well, that person just had a full whole tantrum and you were okay with it. But the minute I say, I don't think that's the right count, or I think it's the other arm, now I have an attitude or I'm a know-it-all.
Yeah.
Why are you putting that on me when I'm literally doing my job without causing any chaos in the room?
Yeah.
And that's not my current situation. This has just been my observation throughout
Your
the
experience. Yeah. Alfred,
Yeah.
speak on it.
I really find it odd too that in ballet companies, they will take a dark-skinned man, but they won't take a dark-skinned woman.
Right.
Woman is a ballerina in the company. She's usually high yellow.
Mm-hmm. That
And
colorism.
they
I see it a lot.
go that way. And then they'll cast the men as dark figures in the ballets.
Yes. Arthur Mitchell said that when he was dancing for Balanchine and they did Agon,
Yes.
he purposely got a very fair Caucasian woman to dance opposite of him because he wanted the juxtapose of the skin to come out. But he did that purposely, and I don't believe this is just me thinking. I think he did it for the contrast because of what the ballet was about. But nowadays, we don't even think about that in context. We just don't want to have Black dancers because Black dancers break up the line in a ballet blanc, or Black dancers stand out. I loved what Carmen said week before last, that she liked being Black because she embraced it because she stood out, and she was one of the better dancers at the school she was at. But when she went to dance theater, she didn't stand out, which was odd and uncomfortable for her. I thought that was a very interesting take on it and observation, because usually it's the opposite. I know for one, in South Carolina, I was the one that stayed in the company consistently, the female, and the others came and left, or they stayed a couple of years and they were gone. But I was constantly put in the back. I was constantly put at the end. I was constantly, off stage, run across the stage type of thing. And I believe that I don't know what we can do and how we can address it to change it. I'm making a list of when I hear things that can happen, but how do we address it? But it's almost time for us to go, but give me a quick, how do you think it can be addressed, Alfred?
I remember with the Garden State Ballet, and they never had a whole group on point that were Black. And they invited me and my company to dance with them on a big festival. And my kids were all Black with Black point shoes, and they were all white. And we did a piece by Peter Anastas, who worked with Baryshnikov and stuff like that. And it was iconic for me because I saw my dancers do his choreography just as well as the white kids, but they had on their brown shoes and their brown tights. And that was a great equalizer for me because my whole purpose for starting my company was to see them have an equal footing. And the piece was called Footage.
So you believe that them, not just the community needs to see Black dancers, but we've been around a long time. It's not like we're just coming out. Dance theater is 52 years. Ballroom
Yes.
is how many years?
What?
Yeah, and there are other dance studios and schools and companies of color. When will they really see us? When will they really recognize, Josh and Alfred, that we are dancers? We are dancers of excellence. We can dance.
I think Ailey did it best because at my training is ballet, modern jazz, African, and whatever. And if you want to be accepted and get that kind of recognition, you have to be the best. We have to be just as good and better. I don't care what it is. I remember seeing Josh on Facebook before I even met him. I saw this fabulous body doing a penché on releve, holding onto a wall. And
Yes.
who is that?
Who does that?
And that's when I made friends with him on Facebook because that's what I'm looking for, a standard.
Fierce.
We just push our dancers, our choreographers to be the best, not the less, the best. So we work harder so that we can go into any venue, any style of dancing because we are the best.
Josh.
Thank you, Alfred. That means so much. I really appreciate that. I don't know. I feel like the civil rights movement is not like, it's only been like 56 years since we were integrated and allowed to even be in the room. So I think these people think they are doing that. Not, I shouldn't say these people. I think ballet company. I apologize. I think ballet companies think they are doing their part just by having a certain number of Black dancers or colored dancers of color in the room, because before that we weren't even allowed to be in the room. So the fact that we're in the room, they think they're doing enough, and that's just the first step. I think they the conversations I've had, they said they will do better and they thought they were doing enough. It's one thing to have the number in the company, but if those dancers aren't represented in the performances, if you don't see them on the stage, if they're not in the first cast or even the second cast, then there's like they don't exist.
Yeah.
People need to see representation. When children come to the audience, as well as adults, they want to see so-and-so dance. And, I've had many people say, oh, you didn't dance tonight. Oh, when do you dance? And, how do you respond to that? You say, well, I didn't dance tonight, but the show was amazing. I danced this night. Oh, you're not first cast? No, I'm this cast. And, it's like, wow, okay, well, maybe people do want to see a Black male be up in the front a little bit more often than just once a year, or every other program. And I say that humbly, because I am not asking to be the star, and I'm not asking to be featured all the time. I only want to be considered for roles that suit my talents as a professional dancer, despite
Equally.
despite what I look like and the color of my skin. You don't look at me, or you don't see me the way you see other dancers. When you cast a ballet, you don't even consider the skin tone. You just cast them because of whatever. When it comes to me, well, he can't do this because of this and this. And that's not fair to my growth as an artist, or, my career path. And I'm not saying that's how it happens, but it's hard not to feel that way when you are in it. And it's hard to say, well, I'm in shape, I'm technically capable, I'm a smart dancer, I'm professional. What is the disconnect? Why am I not getting these parts or these moments that other dancers are getting? And it's hard to not think it's because I'm Black. And you know what? That may not even be a thing, but that is the place you have to go to, because all the other boxes are checked, and I'm meeting all the other goals and all the requirements to be doing the things that other dancers are doing. So I think, they have to just realize it's not about having the people in the room. It's about using those people in the room and actually promoting them, not promoting them in the ranks, but promoting them and using them in these ballets and in the works. And don't just cast me in the contemporary ballets. I shouldn't say that, but
You can say it, Josh.
I love contemporary ballets. I love all types of dance. But sometimes I love balancing.
Yes.
But, I feel like I could have thrived and done more in the classical ballets. But what I look like, I've only have been given the certain roles that complement my skin tone.
Yeah. I trained under Alfred for a while, and he had a standard. Alfred used to say, you need to do 6 o'clock penché, double pirouettes, and 90-degree and above, a la second. Am I right, Alfred?
Yes.
Yes. So if that's what we were striving for that. We had a standard to live up to. And like you just said, Josh, you're checking all the boxes, but then there are the hidden boxes that you cannot check. And you don't even know that they're there, even though it's implied, I'm sure. But we can't check the boxes we can't see.
Get that out of your mind, because I remember a performance, and the director of New Jersey Ballet, Carolyn, I forgot her last.
I don't remember her name either. Yeah, Carolyn something. Yeah.
She came to me and she said, where do you get your male dancers? And I looked at her and I was a little puzzled. And I said, I train them. That's what we have to do. You, Gail, you train them and you put that stamp of excellence. Josh, you are dancing. Don't accept anything less than you are a king. You go out there and don't put any doubt in your mind, because you know what the standard is and you have checked the box. Yes. So those teachers, those choreographers, those dancers who want to do something, check the box and pass it on.
Yes. Jessica, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I was just sitting back, listening. That's what I do mostly, because I absorb everything in that's being talked about. And I do teach high school dance, and the majority of my students are dancers of color. So, Josh, when you were saying you're representative in the community, and I think you're the second person that said that they went and saw something with their school and got them interested in dance. So that was really, made me feel good. Like, okay, yeah, I'm doing the right thing. So I really like that. And you're a mentor to dancers of color that come in to let them know that they can be their own individual. They don't have to be your shadow or somebody else's shadow that came in. So I thought that was really good. And Mr. Alfred, your feed-in school, like I really admire that you just put your things on hold to work with students to, you know, get them up and get them in that competition with everything else that was going on. And I really relate to you talking about pushing your students, because like I said, the majority of them are dancers of color, and the other schools in my district, a lot of them have, you know, training outside in the studios. We talk about this from time to time on here. And so that is one of the main things that I'm wanting to do, is like really push my dancers and my dance program to be at that top level. Because we always go, you know, to district stuff and like, oh, there's the girls, or there's the girls from this school, and there's the girls from that school. And I want mine to feel like, you know, we are just as capable of X, Y, and Z schools, this, that, the third. It's going to be hard with, you know, working digitally this year for the start of it. But I think that, you know, if I really push myself and push these girls, like they can get up there to that level with all the other schools that we are in competition with. So I just want to say thank you to both of you for, you know, sharing your information and giving me some good ideas to go on.
Thank you.
So we got a few comments from, not many questions, but definitely comments from Facebook. Alfred Dietrell says, hey. She says, you definitely influenced her and helped her to start even teach. She's still teaching today. I want to give a shout out to my friend. Her birthday is tomorrow. No, her birthday is Sunday. Happy birthday. And Dietrell, happy birthday, Dietrell. She says, we are proud to be witnessing two Black talented kings. And she also says, no person should be made to feel less than just because of the color of their skin, especially when they're gifted and talented. You were talking then, Josh, when she said that. Alfred Gerbine Gilt's World says, you are the best and thank you.
Thank you.
Cheryl Frith Brown says, yes, Alfred, teach. And Dietrell again said, yes, be proud of your skin tone. So people are definitely responding to what you're saying and understanding that that it's hard out here still. Again, dance theater is 52 years old, and Alfred Goldman's Newark Dance Theater is what, 30, 40 years old?
42.
Wow, 42 years old. And we still need dance theater. We still need Gallman's, because the inclusion is not happening the way or on a global platform yet. The one, and I don't want to discount the one. I do not discount the one. But when are we going to get more than one? When are we going to have half? When are we going to have a third? Well, how about this? How about the company that is in the community reflect the community?
I think the issue is in most households of people of color, Black people, dance is not a thing they want their children to do typically. And I think, you know, it's hard to get, especially Black boys, into a ballet studio without the stigma that is attached to it in the Black community. I think, you know, here in Kansas City Ballet, we have a wonderful outreach program where we go out to the schools and, you know, we just do like mechanics and like basic skills with the students. And then we see what kids have any talent and we bring them into the studio and we offer them dance classes.
Mm-hmm.
And since I've been at Kansas City Ballet, I've seen these little boys start as little boys and they're still working their way through the school. And that's where it starts. You have to get them when they're young and get them interested, and you support them through their training to get and let them know that they can do this professionally. Yes. And having dancers like myself and other dancers of color in the company showing that this is what your end goal could be. You know, I'm not a star by any means whatsoever, but I've made it from that little boy to professional ballet arena. So it is possible. And where I came from in the inner city of Miami, ballet and being a ballet dancer was not even on the radar or not even a career. So the fact that I did it and made it out is a huge thing for someone else who's watching me come in every day, take class, do the ballets, perform on stage. This is what their future could be like. And I think that's where it starts. You have to get in those communities and get them while they're young, while they're still moldable and still like are a sponge and you can inspire them. I think.
I told someone, well, Dancing Towards Diversity Initiative is my baby that I'm nursing right now. This is part of it, the LEAP project. Another project is called Genesis, and that project is for to give 2 and 3-year-olds free classes, like free classes. They don't have to pay, because if we can get them, if we can establish an appreciation and a love for dance, because they're already moving. I mean, they're already moving at that age. You see them on the TikTok and everything else. They already moving at 2 and 3. And if we can get that, if we can bring them into a situation, not a situation, but a class, an environment, an atmosphere of embracing movement of their bodies, so that people won't say, stop that. What do you come at? Now, I done seen some 2 and 3-year-olds do some funky things, but we want to bring them into the how to move your body and express yourself utilizing your body at an early age. And like you said, Josh, if we can get them to love it at an early age, then they will see how they can grow and become Joshes and Alfreds and Brooklyns and Jessicas and Gails, and you know what I'm saying? We do have a question from Ryan Vetter. Ryan says, I showed up a little late, but I'm wondering about your thoughts on the intersectionality of skin color and body type. Why are the dancers of color that succeed the ones who most fit the impossible dance standard? Why are the dancers of color that succeed are the ones who most fit the impossible dance standard?
Okay. I think the aesthetic for classical ballet is a very hard one to achieve, no matter what color you are, because it's just you're striving for perfection that's unstrivable. I think those dancers of color who have met that look aesthetically tend to have a different body type that's not typically for African Americans. I don't know how to say this correctly. I think I am a shorter dancer, but I have really long legs. I have really long arms. I have a big head. I think dance is an illusion, and you are just creating a facade to create these beautiful lines. And I think may sound bad, but I think ballet has to still keep some of its classical nature, where you just can't take everybody because you want to be inclusive. The person must have talent. The person must have somewhat of an aesthetical classical ballet line to pursue this career. Now, just because they are not the thinnest, or they may be a little bit more muscular, that doesn't mean you can discount them from pursuing a career in dance. But at the same time, just don't take anybody. Dance is not for everybody. It is something we all train at for years to achieve a classical ballet line. And I think those of us who have made it professionally, who are dancers of color, is we've worked hard to mold and shape what we have to meet that aesthetic.
Does that classical ballet line, though, exclude dancers of colors? A lot of dancers of color who are fierce dancers, but we may not have that thin L. You know what I'm saying? Like, is it almost an exclusion tactic?
I think it is an excuse, because most some dancers of color tend to be a little bit more muscular, a little bit more rounder and fuller. So they use that as an excuse. Well, they're just too muscular, they can't do it. I'm extremely muscular. I look great. Like,
You
so
do.
I think
I'm sorry.
I was being funny, but thank you. I think any body type can be shaped into making it work. I think I have white friends in the company who don't have the perfect ballet aesthetic, but they're fierce dancers. They don't have that typical ballet body, but they can move and they have great technique. And it's okay for them because they're white. But when it comes to a Black person, we're not given those same concessions.
A little privilege in there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say white privilege, but white privilege.
Dancer white privilege. Yeah, it's a thing.
It's a thing. But yeah, So, I mean, I like I said, I have friends who don't have that typical dancer body, but they are fierce dancers. They have amazing technique and they make it work. So it is possible not to have that streamlined aesthetic that you see in all the Instagram videos and online, because that ain't real.
It is not. Alfred, are you seeing a shift in how, I mean, we're having the conversations, but have you seen a shift in how dancers of color are accepted into companies, or are we, this is why we're having a conversation because there hasn't been a shift?
I believe we need to do what we have to do. If we want to be in a major company or institution, you just have to work and be the best that you can be. And you don't think about what your body looks like or what your complexion looks like and what your feet look like. Just strive to be the best that you can do. And I've seen people who do not have the ideal bodies who are just phenomenal because they worked so hard that the gift made room for them. I just want to mention one of the boys that I trained at the age of, he was 16 or 17 when he walked into my class, Dwayne Cyrus. And he was a skinny boy with a big head. And I went to his father and I said, if you give me the chance, I will make your son a dancer, and he will never really suffer or want for anything. Well, Dwayne went to Juilliard, graduated with honors. He went into the Graham Company, dancing solos. He went to Alvin Ailey with Alvin Ailey. Alvin Ailey saw him at my 10th year anniversary, which he hosted, Alvin Ailey hosted. And he said, I'm taking Dwayne Cyrus, Althea Canada, and Michael Joy. Thank you very much. And Dwayne went on to dance with Jude Jameson in the Ailey Company. He went on to get his master's. He's a professor of dance at North Carolina, Greensboro University. And he is my muse. He is my artistic son. And everything that I wanted in a person or dancer, he has become. So I just wanted to honor him because he made my dreams come true.
Amen. Yeah.
And that's all that you can ask for, is a dancer that goes all the way because of their drive and love for dance.
Yeah.
Don't worry about your feet. You can work on them. Get some point shoes and break those toes down.
Tell them all.
Put some sweatpants on and open those. Deep Terrell know what I'm talking about. And the love dance, because dance is a movement of the spirit,
Yes,
the soul. And if you don't communicate, you're not dancing. You're doing it.
Dance is a movement of the soul. That is so powerful right there. What can you say after that? I do want to say that I want to thank you guys. I could stay on and continue the conversation, but we want people to come back next week too. But let me see. Amanda DiVenuta says, I love you, Josh. You're the best. Ryan Vetter says, thank you. Laurie says, love that. Alfred Whitney, hi, Whitney is watching. Cheryl said, beautiful. Totlin said, if we are just talking about ballet, then certainly not all persons of color will fit. But indeed, there are forms of dance that are so apt and well fit for other forms of dance. Yeah. So I agree with you. Totlin. Because dance is not for everybody. I say that all the time. Dance, period, is not for everybody. classical ballet is not for everybody either. But it's somewhere in there, we have got to make sure that we are not being disqualified because of the color of our skin.
I
And
think the
that's it.
I'm sorry.
You're good.
The conversation was about our experiences. My experience has only been in classical ballet companies.
Right.
So that is only the narrative I can speak from. I
Right.
didn't dance for Ailey. I didn't dance for Martha Graham. I've danced with ballet companies. And as
Right.
a man, my story is different from dancing in other arenas of dance.
Yeah. Yeah, it is different. It is, and truth be told, I believe that a majority or a very heavy part of discrimination happens in the classical ballet because of the myths that are prevalent, that we
Yeah.
don't have the right bodies, that, you know, we don't blend in, that we are not, you know, we're too muscular. That's the whole body thing. Even the hair issue.
Or we're not technically capable
Or not technically capable
of the
because
step.
of the color of our skin.
That's crazy.
Don't make me hit this desk.
Tighter and more cross than anybody else in this room. What are you talking about?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yes. So we are here to dispel those myths, to talk about them, because it is the elephant is in the room is the conversation. It's not necessarily when they make the comments, but it's our response to them as well. It's how we can begin to say to them, you know, I don't know if you know, but that's a microaggression that comes, that's based out of racism. And they may be offended, but we gotta address the elephant in the room. We have to begin to address these attitudes that prevail. And whether or not they mean to do it, whether or not they grew up in a household of racism, it's time to stop it. It's time that we put on our big girl draws and big boy draws and address the issue of racism in dance so that it will stop, and that we will be seen not by the color of our skin, but by the content of our dancing. And that's where we gotta put a period at the end of the sentence right there tonight. I want to thank Alfred Goldman for coming on. I'm just, you don't know how blessed I feel that you came on, Alfred, and shared with us your journey and your truth.
Thank you.
Fabulous, wonderful.
My pleasure, and I'm so glad I was invited.
Oh, thank you so much. And Josh, too, thank you so much for joining us and sharing us. We needed some testosterone, and y'all really kicked it up for us. And we can always tell the female side, that's my side, but the male side, we got to hear from you guys. Y'all have to speak up. Kings, y'all got to speak up. And I'm so thankful that you are, because only when we have these dance conversations will this happen. Laurie, you can't be asking questions when I'm trying to log off. Laurie says, why can't ballerinas be muscular though? I feel like it is beautiful to have a ballerina's body and the lines look beautiful, but a muscular body is beautiful as well. I love it.
Misty Copeland is muscular.
She is. She's a little tiny thing, but she got muscles. She has muscles. Josh, you muscular.
Yes, he is.
So again, I'm signing off, y'all. I'm signing off. That I want to thank the two gentlemen for coming tonight. They are a blessing. I want to ask the viewers to please share this information, share it, tag somebody, like the page, join the page. We got up to 200 on our Dance Conversation page now, and we need to continue to grow. This is important stuff. We're talking about important things, and the only way we can do it is when we do it in numbers. We have to make the conversation not the elephant in the room any longer. We need to be able to, maybe we won't feel comfortable, but we at least need to be able to say the stuff. You know, my stomach is kind of, because I live in Colombia, we racist down here, but we got to be able to have the conversations and I don't want to call people on the carpet, but I do want to make you think a different way. You got to start thinking, addressing yourself. Even me, I'm thinking too. I mean, I had little girls, I was like, no, you need to put their hair up in a bun, baby. It's got to be pulled back. And when they came in with braids, I was like, but that was the mindset I had at that time. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want the braids. I wanted it pulled back. I said, you don't have to press it, but pull it back into that bun. So we continue to evolve, we continue to grow, and we get to pull those people that are not dancers of color, our Caucasian sisters and brothers, with us. Just like Jessica's asking questions. I told her she was not the token white. I told her that already. But she's asking valuable questions because she deals with dancers of color. Like most of your students are dancers of color, right, Jessica? Yeah. So
Yeah,
for her to ask go ahead. Huh?
like 98%.
98%.
Wow.
And she's asking the right questions, and they love her. Her students love her. I did a residency with her, and it was fabulous. But unless we have Jessica's asking the right questions and finding out how to do it, and not asking, how can I just send them to dance theater? I love dance theater, but that's not the only ballet company in the world that we can dance at. You know what I'm saying? So, what, Josh?
I was saying dancers of color and Black dancers can dance anywhere.
Anywhere.
If you're talented enough and you work hard enough and you go out there and audition, the possibilities are endless. You can dance in anywhere in the world, not just the US. If it's a ballet company, a modern company, Broadway, there's so many avenues for dance. So it's possible. So
Say so. That's right.
And
All
I
right.
was fortunate enough to do them all. Broadway, concert dance, videos, commercials, movies, specials, tours, and
one more.
yeah,
and all. And if you didn't do it, your dancers did it.
yes.
Yes. Well, we thank you for blazing that trail. Please make sure everybody, our viewers, to like again the Dancing Towards Diversity Initiative page, and share this video. Like it. Maybe if you come on next week, we will be on next week with Michael McManus and Christian Von Howard. They are both professional dancers, choreographers, and artists working now. Again, another week of males. I'm excited about that testosterone, and continuing with this male perspective, continuing talking about and bringing to the carpet, bringing to the forefront racism in dance, and some solutions. And hey, if you are watching this now and you either have a solution, or you want to come on and talk, or you want to ask a question, I'm on Facebook all the time. Hit me up and I'll make sure I put it on my list. And if you know somebody that would like to be on, or if you'd like to be on, just say so. DM me, or you don't even have to DM me, just put it, blast it on my Facebook page. We actually do have guests out through September, so I'm excited about that. We've got on the 27th, we have Donald Byrd coming on. What?
Yes.
Yes, he's gonna lay it out. Donald, if you're watching, yes, we are anticipating that. And next week, again, we have Michael McManus and Christian Von Howard, and some more surprises coming later. Thank you all again. Look, I tried to keep it under an hour, but how can you keep talking? How can you keep Alfred and Josh under an hour? That's just impossible. That's impossible. Love you guys. Thank you again. Good night, everybody. I'll see you next week, 8 o'clock Eastern time, 7 o'clock Central time, and 5 o'clock Pacific time. Join us for Dance Conversations with Gail. Good night.
Good night.
In the live stream.